7 months ago, I began this series talking about how grifters attempt to hide their bigotry behind certain deflections. In that video, I mentioned the cynical grifter whining about a black woman in the marketing material for the Minecraft movie. As is par for the course, his followers and other parrots attempted to apologize for him like the good little trained attack dogs they are. Like this guy, who has fallen for the trick that it's not racism, but modern entertainment that the cynical grifter has a problem with. Well, unfortunately for you people, CG has gone full mask off in his, and I'm using this term very loosely, review of the Minecraft movie. So think of this as an addendum to the first and second video in this series where I gave irrefutable proof that Will Jordan is a racist piece of shit, but you didn't accept it because it was from me. Well, now let's hear it from him.
They say that a camel is nothing but a horse designed by committee, and funnily enough, that was the first thing that popped into my mind after watching the Minecraft movie. It's what happens when a bunch of people with seemingly no creative impulses in their entire bodies are asked to come up with a generic comedy adventure flick to take advantage of the growing video game adaptation trend and milk a popular IP that they're only vaguely familiar with, while also trying to tick as many corporate mandated boxes as humanly possible.
So we've arrived at the first bunch of nonsense in this ill-informed video, where a guy with almost no talent is shitting on people with actual talent by saying these people have no creative impulses in their entire bodies. This is coming from the guy that wrote Rogue Elements. But this video isn't really a full review of his review, so we're going to skip the foreplay and get right into the meat and potatoes.
Let's get this one over with quick, because Minecraft deserves nothing better. The movie stars Jack Black as Steve, a guy who quits his dead-end job to mine for treasure and adventure. No, wait, actually it stars Jason Momoa as Garrett, a washed-up 80s video game protege. No, wait, actually it stars Sebastian Hansen as some kid who moves to a new town with his sister and finds a portal into another world. Yeah, in case you hadn't noticed, the script's a bit confused about who the main character's even supposed to be. Conventional wisdom would suggest it should be Steve, since he's the protagonist of the games and everything, but I guess at some point the studio realised that no one under the age of 30 knows or cares who Jack Black is, so they brought in Jason Momoa, who's younger and cooler, to play a big beefy jock-type character.
This is where the grift rears its ugly head, where Will's words betray his feigned authority on media properties. You see, Will just said that the film's protagonist should be Steve because Steve is the main character of the games. Besides the fact that Will is telling everyone that he doesn't know what a co-protagonist is, he's also revealing his ignorance of the games. You see, Steve was a blank slate avatar meant for the player to impart their own ideas and experiences on. He has no voice, no personality, or a backstory. Further, he currently is one of 9 default skins the player can choose, further adding to this lack of characterization. This isn't Uncharted, where the game chooses Nathan Drake for you. You have to actively choose to be Steve in the updated version of Minecraft. This means the film is accurately representing that choice as best a film can. There are multiple protagonists in this film, like there are multiple protagonists in the game. Hell, when Minecraft released story mode, Jesse was the main character. I'll say that again. When Minecraft got a real story, Steve wasn't even selectable as a character. Steve is simply one of the avatars for the player to curate their own story. Now, why is this important? Well, because Will is going to attempt to make the case that Steve deserves to be here and that others do not, which, as we just explained, goes against the spirit of the game. But the issue here is what we discussed earlier. He's going to couch blatant racism in this seemingly reasonable, if inaccurate, concept.
But then some corporate suit decided that the movie would test better with children if they had a kid as the main character, and so Henry was written into the story with no particular arc or personality in mind. And then the chief diversity officer decided they needed more representation, so they threw in a random black lady who has absolutely no reason to be there and contributes nothing to the story. Great work, guys. Be sure to give yourselves an extra large bonus this year.
Now, I actually agree with Will on this particular point. Danielle Brooks's character was relatively useless in this film, as was Emma Myers' character. Had these characters been cut, the film doesn't meaningfully change, and you could come up with another flimsy excuse why the boy is in this situation, and no one would really care. The problem is that Will calls Danielle the random black lady that's only here because a diversity officer mandated her presence. Do you notice how he didn't talk about the ethnicity of the boy, who he also thinks was useless? How he didn't suggest that a diversity officer was responsible for his casting? Exactly. Because the actor for the useless boy character got here entirely by merit and not the basis of his ethnicity, like the useless woman character. You know, the kid known for being in 5 whole things before landing this role, opposed to Danielle Brooks, the Oscar-nominated actress with 31 previous credits, including Peacemaker and Orange is the New Black. Yeah, he's much more deserving of being here than she is, right? As you can see, this is Will claiming that black people are here not because they are good at their jobs, but because their presence is mandated by the ever-nebulous they. I wonder who they are, Will. Your nationalist socialist followers might say the Jews, but then I'd have to show them that you think Jews are white people, as evidenced by this image. Whatever else could he be communicating here, I wonder? The funny thing is, you can argue that Danielle is literally the most qualified person on the cast, rivaled only by Jack Black, given her performances in properties like The Color Purple, Peacemaker, and Orange is the New Black. An actual film critic would criticize this movie for wasting such a talented actress, but I suppose that's my bad for mistaking Will Jordan for an actual film critic. I must have gotten confused by his channel's name.
Steve finds a magical bullshit crystal that opens a portal to the world of Minecraft, but then accidentally discovers an evil underworld inhabited by an army of evil pigs, who imprison him, but not before he gives the crystal to his dog, who escapes back through the portal into the real world and hides it. The crystal eventually falls into the hands of Garrett, who tries to sell it in his video game store, before Henry takes it and uses it to cross over into the world of Minecraft too. Oh yeah, and somehow Garrett, Henry's sister, and some random black lady also get pulled in with them.
Do I have to continue spelling this out, or do you people get it by now? Random black lady. Why not random lady? Or random real estate agent? Or random Jamaican, given all the jobs she had in the movie? Why do you think this woman's ethnicity is the first thing on Will Jordan's mind? He hasn't mentioned literally anyone else's ethnic background yet. Is it because of modern entertainment, Rigid Rat? Am I still just nitpicking to find racism where there is none? Are you convinced yet?
The evil pig queen lady, whose name I can't even be bothered to look up, is by far the weakest villain I've ever seen in a film like this, voiced by an absolutely dreadful actress who sounds like she's reading her lines off a teleprompter with no idea of the context or meaning behind them.
What do we think of Will Jordan literally describing himself, Palpatine?
Ironic.
The rest of the cast are mostly forgettable. Henry makes no impression as the protagonist, his sister isn't developed enough to care about, and although random black lady isn't nearly as annoying as you might think from the trailer, she really doesn't have much reason to be there either. The script has no idea what to do with her, she's just kind of there in the background most of the time.
Again, describing everyone else by their name or their familial role, but Danielle's character is random black lady. Why not just call her Dawn? It's 4 less syllables. And I know you're mostly speaking to your audience, most of whom are spiteful, bigoted, insane pieces of shit, emboldened by your negative rhetoric with every terrible video you produce. But what do you mean Dawn isn't nearly as annoying as you might think from the trailer? What part of that trailer made you think this character would be annoying? Do you need a refresher, buddy? Okay, here is every instance of Dawn in the trailer for Minecraft.
Where are we?
Wait, who are you again?
Garrett the Garbage Man Garrison. Gamer of the Year 1989. Whatever. I barely think about it.
You can...
Let's go.
Great. Now it's dark.
That feel quick to anyone else?
Pretty annoying, huh? A whole 12 clips and 2 speaking lines. If anything, the trailer gives you the impression that she's not in the movie very much, so why would anyone go to annoying from that? I I bring you back to the image that sparked all of this. Given everything I've shown you about this person, what do you now think his problem with this image is? And if you can't answer this question, you might just be as racist as he is, in which case, I'll pay for your flight ticket out of the country. I hear Voli Airlines Flight 180 has pleasant trips to Paris this time of year.